It's really exciting to be here on the TED stage today. I can't believe I agreed to do this. I think I'm going to be sick. It's an honor to be here. Who am I to be on a TED stage? I don't belong up here. Look at that guy over there. I haven't even started and he already looks bored.
Why don't I take over, Dad? I could tell our story. But what if I can't? I might forget what I want to share. There are a lot of people here and I'm just 10. Stop! Does this ever happen to you? The negative thoughts seem to take over and leave you feeling self-doubt or fear?
Researchers believe we have as many as 60,000 thoughts every single day, commenting on everything we see and hear.
Imagine you had a penny for every thought you had today and stacked them one on top of the other. Look up how tall it is. It's as tall as the Statue of Liberty and weighs over 300 pounds. Whoa, that would crush you if it fell on you.
All of these thoughts have a significant impact on our happiness. They can help us feel better, but are often more negative than positive. For some, they develop into a habit of being harsh and can make us feel alone, unsure of ourselves, stupid, or even worthless.
I sometimes feel that way. And sometimes it gets so bad, I feel like I could explode with anger.
I know, sweetie, I'm sorry. Unfortunately, that's very common. More school-age kids are experiencing these dark feelings called anxiety and depression than ever before. And many of them, it gets so bad they want to hurt themselves.
So our feelings are related to our thoughts?
Exactly. The thoughts we have cause chemical reactions in our body, and those are our feelings. And unless someone learns to question the truth of those feelings and change those that are causing unwanted feelings, they don't typically grow out of it.
Many people believe their feelings are caused by what happens to them, but that's not exactly true.
Let's see if we can give them an example. Eisley, would it make you happy to be the star player on your soccer team?
Yes.
Would it make you happy to be the top student in your class?
Absolutely.
What would it do for your happiness if you had $1 million?
I'd be the happiest person in the world.
That's right. Many people think that way and are surprised to find out that external factors like these only contribute about 10% to our long-term happiness. 10%?
That's almost nothing. So if being smarter than others doesn't make you happy, or being rich, or super athletic, then what really brings happiness?
Well, it's largely in how you think about your life circumstances. Let's take being super athletic, for example. Do you remember the study about the Olympic medalists?
Oh yeah, first place gets gold, second place silver, and third place bronze. Pop quiz. Who do you think is happier? The silver medalist or the bronze medalist? Would it surprise you to know that it's not the silver medalist?
That's right. The study found that the bronze medalist, the third place athlete, tends to be happier. And it's all in what they think about. The silver medalist tends to think something like, oh my gosh, I almost got gold but fell just a little bit short. While the bronze medalist thinks something like, oh, I almost didn't make it to the medal stand. I'm so glad I made it. One of them is objectively better off, but it doesn't make them happier for it.
That makes sense. I remember one Saturday as one of my soccer games was ending and I was walking back to the sidelines. It was beautiful out and we just won our game, 4-3. Outside, things were great, but I was upset about a play where they dribbled right past me. I could have been having a good time and celebrating with my team, but all I could think about was how poorly I played, how stupid I must have looked, totally missing it like that. This became a pattern with me, this negative self-talk.
And I recognized what she was struggling with as something that I've dealt with my entire life. At her age, I started at the Little League level of using self-criticism when I didn't feel like I fit in. But after a lifetime of uninterrupted practice, I made it to the major leagues of using perfectionism, shame, and guilt to try and feel better about myself. I definitely did not want to be modeling this for her. I want her to be happier, to be a kid and not worry about so much. So I dove into learning everything I could about happiness and what gets in the way of it. I started teaching her about subpersonalities and how those are our thoughts that have developed into a routine, and how there are 4 subpersonalities that rob us of happiness and can lead to anxiety. But I could tell it was a boring way of explaining it to her.
And you're doing it again. So let me tell it. One night as he was tucking me into bed, he said, "You see, there's Walter the Worrier. Most Wednesdays he's the worst. He talks of all that could go wrong until I want to burst." This was a fun little rhyme that made the subpersonality the worrier, now named Walter, more real to me. So we kept going. I wrote a poem about Priscilla the perfectionist, Christina the critic, and Valerie the victim.
We were trying to internalize what we were learning, to really be changed by it. Because learning and not improving, it's like watching the Food Network and drooling on the TV, but never trying the recipes in your own kitchen and getting to taste it. That's frustrating. So we started writing down the things these subpersonalities would say. And then we took what research says about challenging these thoughts to explore if we're seeing clearly. And finally, how to replace thoughts intentionally.
And I started drawing pictures to go along with what we wrote. We were having fun while addressing this challenge we were facing. We were thinking up.
And after overhearing some parents at the park explain just how frustrated they felt, not knowing how to help their kids with their anxiety and panic, I said, Eisley, why don't we get an illustrator and turn this into a book? But after several conversations with illustrators that were way too expensive or too busy to work with us, it did not look like this project was going to get off the ground.
Then it happened. One day as we were walking out of the Apple store, we saw this girl drawing on an iPad. It looked great. So we went over to her and asked her if she'd like to do the art for our poem. Harmony Hagan, a high school senior, did the amazing art for our book.
And a couple months ago, we published it as a shared read aloud for families to have a common vocabulary about addressing negative self-talk.
At 10 years old, I'm a published author. And as cool as that is, the most important thing I've learned in this process is how to challenge these negative thoughts that we all have. We are not our thoughts and we are not our feelings, and they're not true just because we have them.
Tell me more about that.
Thoughts are like birds. You might not be able to keep them from landing on your head, but you're certainly able to keep them from making a nest there.
It's about becoming our own thought detectives, really questioning these thoughts to explore if they're helpful. So that when Walter, the worrier, says, I might get the answer wrong or forget the words to the song,
I say, ask him, what are the chances of it really happening? Now compare it to the worry. What's more damaging?
and once we've examined if these thoughts are helpful, we can replace them intentionally. Like when Priscilla the perfectionist says, that's nowhere near good enough, can't you see? Why can't you get it right by doing work worthy of me?
I say, life is designed so I could always be a student. Learning this early on is much more prudent.
And you can't just do it once and expect to be changed by it. Henry David Thoreau said, as a single footstep will not make a path on the earth, so a single thought will not make a pathway in the mind. To make a deep physical path, we walk it again and again. To make a deep mental path, we must think over and over the type of thoughts we wish to dominate our lives.
One way in our house we like to practice thinking up and having healthier thoughts is when someone complains, we play a game called That's Awesome Because. And whoever was complaining has to come up with some reasons that it actually is awesome.
And this really helps us when our Christina the critic says that we should compare ourselves to others, and we start feeling like we're not as smart or as good or as talented as someone else.
I remember to speak words that are loving and build people up. I start with myself, then lift others to fill my cup.
We've read our book in dozens of schools and talked to many families. And everywhere we go, we find people that are really struggling to have happier, healthier thoughts.
If you spread your arms out right now, I bet someone within your reach is dealing with this.
One family shared their story with us. There they were, anxiously sitting in the hospital waiting room, desperate to understand why their 16-year-old son had planned to end his life. Steve had studied psychology, and Melissa was a trained social worker. But they still felt blindsided by this. As they rallied around Jason and got him the help that he needed, they discovered just how much anxiety their 10-year-old daughter Maggie was drowning in too. She really identified with Christina the critic. In her own words, she said, "My inner Christina is always telling me that I'm not good enough, and it makes me sad. It makes me angry and want to break something, and then it makes me just want to give up." She's now talking about these difficult emotions, and that's a really good thing. And she's practicing replacing these thoughts with more compassionate ones. She's well on her way to leading a healthier and much happier life.
So that person within your reach that might need help, picture their face. You might be looking in the mirror. Let's consider what we've learned today. 1, Recognize that we have these negative thoughts. 2. Question these thoughts. Are they helpful? And 3. Replace these thoughts with happier ones. Whether for you or someone you love, do you think now is the time to begin thinking up?